Welcome back to our lesson number 4 for beginners. I'm glad that you are continuing with us and following this lesson one by one. Today, before I start talking about the lesson, we're gonna talk a little bit about a website that we just launched, and to make sure that you understand what's the plan with these websites. So let's talk a little bit about it. So the name of the website is www.receivingtheupperlight.com. So it's the same name as a study group, right? So it will be easy to remember, receivingtheupperlight.com. Today's lesson is going to be the path of Torah and the path of pain. We're going to touch that concept today, but let's talk a little bit about the website first. So the website that we launched is basically a place where you can find information about how can we get in touch, how can you yourself can create also your own study group using these lessons. And eventually, right now the website doesn't have a lot of content, only the content that we have in YouTube is being added to it, but eventually we're going to add more content to it, like study guides and references, that you can use for your own study, or if you're studying with somebody else, as a group using our lessons. So let's look at the website really quick in here. So the name of the website is gonna appear in the middle, Receiving the Upper Light Kabbalah study group, and you're gonna find here on our welcome page the links for the Facebook group and also the YouTube channel, which is the channel that probably you're watching us right now. And right now we have a contact page, and that contact page you can go and write your name, your email, and send any question that you have, or any comments, or any suggestions, to make our lessons better, or anything like that. Anything is welcome, as long as it's nice comments, nothing out of the order. Like I said, you're gonna find our links to our social media. This will be for Twitter, also Instagram, which also we just started that recently, and the YouTube channel. Just make sure, if you're watching this lesson or any lesson that you're watching, that you like and subscribe to make sure that you get any latest video that we put out there. So in the beginners, that's where we have already some of the material already in place, and what you're gonna find is all the videos that we have so far in YouTube. Once we get more videos, we're gonna add them as we go through this. There's gonna be a series of videos that we're gonna be doing, and they might not be found publicly in YouTube, but they might be just for those who are intermediate students that want to see these videos. They can go to the website, they will find those videos. Right now there's nothing there, but they will be added. Also, we're gonna be adding little short lessons about zohar, and that'll be in the future. We're trying to see how we can keep those lessons 10 to 15 minutes long. The same thing with the weekly parasha or portion of the Torah that we study, and holidays. And we're gonna have also seminars. Those seminars are gonna be a little bit longer. They're gonna be 2 to 3 part seminars, and we're gonna be touching certain things like applied Kabbalah. How can you apply Kabbalah to your life? How Kabbalah can help you with, let's say, depression. How can you fight depression? How can you, if you suffer from anger, how can you manage anger and things like that? And there's some seminars that we're gonna be putting out there for you. So be in touch. Stay in, just like the page says. Stay in touch, because we will be adding those things really soon. All right. So I hope that you look at the website and you visit it often, as we do some of the updates on it. So we're going to talk about the theme of the path of pain and the path of Torah. And something that you need to have in mind is that in previous lessons we talk about these 2 paths, and that we mentioned that humanity at this moment, most of them are choosing the path of pain, and that the path of pain brings with it what the word says, pain and suffering. And that's why in these days we see a lot of depression. We see a lot of people that they have everything but they're not satisfied. We see people that they have everything but they want more, and that creates suffering. Suffering and pain doesn't necessarily translate into physical pain. It translates into spiritual pain, and that spiritual pain sometimes have symptoms in what we call our mind or emotions, and also our body. So the suffering that we have physically, emotionally, and mentally is a sign, is a symptom of something that is happening in spirituality. Also, what we're gonna see is that some people have a lot of physical suffering, a lot of mental suffering, emotional suffering for the things that are happening in their lives, but somehow these people seem to be very connected to the light, to spirituality. And we tend to ask why these people are that connected. Also, we're gonna see, and this is something that we ask most of the time, is that we see good people that are trying to connect to the light suffering. A lot of bad things happen to them. Yet we see the people that we might call evil having it all, having a good time in life. And there's a question that a lot of people try to answer, and is, why does bad things happen to good people, and why good things happen to bad people? And Kabbalah offers an answer to that, and there's a reason that has to do with a whole bunch of past experiences, spiritual past experiences. And we're going to touch base on some concepts that are going to be controversial, and they're going to be polemic. And the reason that I say that is because these concepts are not accepted by the main religious organizations out there. Yet it is there. It is there. And some of the concepts that we're going to be talking about is about the concept of reincarnation, or Gilgul in Hebrew. But we have to make sure that when we touch those concepts, we make a difference of how Kabbalah sees the process of reincarnation compared with what most people think that reincarnation is all about, which is a concept that came from Eastern religions, which is similar but it's not the same. Kabbalah has a whole different way of seeing things. So make note of that, because we're going to be talking about root souls in the future. And the concept of reincarnation, it has to do with those root souls. Okay? So let's talk about the path of pain and the path of light. So the path of pain is basically called that way because it's a path that we choose most of the time. And the reason we choose that path is because we, like I mentioned before, we're egoistic creatures. We are egoistic by nature. We were created with an ego. The only problem that we have is that we don't know how to manage that ego. We don't have the tools to understand why we're so egoistic and why we do the things that we do, why we want the things that we want. So the path of pain is slow spiritual evolution. It's a slow spiritual evolution of humanity. It is considered an external path. Why external? That's a concept that we're going to understand from now on, is that everything that is considered external, it's something that is farther away from the source, basically farther from light. So everything that is internal is anything that is close to the light or similar to the light. So we're going to talk about that, about similarity. Okay? Similarity with the Creator, similarity with light, how we can change our egoistic nature into an altruistic nature in which we want to be like the Creator, an all-giving being. But like I mentioned before in other lessons, that can only be achieved if you work together with other people. By yourself, it's easy to think that I'm not an egoistic person until I meet another person that might be contrary in my views, might be contrary in the way I see things, and that's when I get tested. And that's when I see that I have a lot of hate, I have a big ego, and that it's hard for me to connect. Therefore, I'm in an external reality, and that causes pain. And like I said, this pain and suffering doesn't have to be physical. Even though when you have this kind of interaction with people, you're gonna find yourself feeling pain because it's hurting you, hurting your ego, it's hurting who you think you are. You know, that when you look at yourself and you study the process that is going in your mind when that is happening, and I tell you by my own experience, really hard, because you do that probably after the situation happened, not necessarily in the moment that the situation is happening. That's why in Kabbalah they emphasize that when the situation is happening, pause, stop, and call for the light to help you, instead of letting the ego, that little virus in our mind, doing the wrong thing, making things worse for you and probably the other person. But the thing is, what I was going to say was that in reality, when you study your thought process, you're hurting not because what the other person is saying about you. You're hurting because of how that person is looking at you. You have this image that you want to keep. You know, I want people to see me this way. I want people to see me teaching Kabbalah. I want people to see me maybe doing all kinds of religious, actions and all kinds of good actions out there, social justice, actions, and all that. Therefore, I see myself as a good person. I'm presenting myself to you as a good person. But in reality, all of us have that little, what we call in Kabbalah, little Satan. And Satan is not that little devil that you're gonna find in Christianity. It's a force that opposes anything that is good and wants you to connect with the light. Anything that wants you to go to the internal parts. So that little Satan inside our head is telling you at that moment when you're having this issue with this person that it's not the words that the person is saying that is hurting you. It's that the words are sending a message to you that you don't want to know, because it's causing pain and suffering in you, and basically the image that you have is being distorted. That person basically is telling you the truth, and because you have this illusion, this ideal of yourself that you want to be presented out there as this glorious person, just to use the word glorious person, they find that you're not so glorious, that you have, some faults, and they point the finger at you about how you're not that glorious, and it hurts you because you think, I'm doing everything I can in my life. How can you tell me when you don't know how I feel, when you don't know how I think, when you don't know what I'm going through? Guess what? Everybody goes through something. Nobody's exempt. So by you saying that only I go through this, you cannot say or give an opinion about how am I feeling, how you're feeling. That's the ego talking. That's why in Kabbalah they teach you, stop. You're feeling pain in your ego. Stop. But there's another way that we can work things out, and it's through the path of Torah. In Torah, a lot of people know Torah as the five books of Moses, and the Kabbalists will tell you, yes, that's written Torah. That's the one that was given on Mount Sinai. Although, there'll be Kabbalists like me that will tell you, not all of it was given on Mount Sinai. Some of it was written by men in different times. But the thing is, the symbolism of those books of the Torah, by the way, there are 5, and we're gonna see why there are 5, is because they are a guide for us, that we need to use them not as a historical book, not as a religious book, but as a guide for internal work, for internal and spiritual work. I lost my words there. So when you look at the Torah in that sense, you'll see that it's a spiritual book. You'll see that every battle that the Bnei Israel, the son of Israel, the Hebrews were having as they were trying to conquer the land, maybe, as archaeologists will tell us, maybe it didn't happen. But it's telling you about battle that needs to happen inside you. You're conquering the nations. Remember, we talk about the nations. The nations are these set of desires that I have. And now comes Israel. And Israel needs to fight these desires and reach that level of becoming a nation, becoming that little point in your heart, which is a fetus. And that fetus is going to grow inside the mother, a spiritual mother that we have, and from there is going to grow and be born spiritually. But in order for that birth to happen, it has to be all of us, or at least a critical mass of people having the same thought, the same intention. They will bring the light down, and by doing that, the whole humanity will also advance spiritually. So that's that. We have the 2 paths. Path of pain, slow spiritual evolution. Everything has to be about suffering. Today we see it when we have nations fighting other nations, crisis like the financial crisis. We have nature not only being destroyed by man in his carelessness of using the natural resources, but also we see nature acting in a different way, in which creates disasters and more pain towards humanity, not only because we're more on top of this earth, but also because we should know better. So nature sends us these messages. For example, pandemic crisis, in which the whole world, need to stop and think how we're gonna make sure that we save each other, from getting killed by a virus or something like that. But we still don't learn, because we have chosen the path of slow spiritual evolution. We need basically nature, the creator, to give us a push in order for us to walk. Otherwise, we get too comfortable and we don't move. And sometimes the creator needs to give us what we call bad things in order for us to advance spiritually. So if we were to choose the path of Torah, the path of Torah, which is instruction, when you translate Torah, is instruction. The path is, you learn about nature. You learn what nature is all about. That nature is all about correcting what we have around, making it better. To understand that we're co-creators. That the creator created this whole universe, but we create something that we call our own reality. And that my perspective of life is not going to be the same perspective of other people. But we're seeing the same thing from different angles. And we and that thought unite us into one network, in which what you see and what I see will complement each other, and we will create this whole network of information that will actually let us see the whole thing as one. That's what the path of light is all about. When we do that, what happens is, remember, here we're slow. It seems like wars are never ending, financial crises are never ending. Here, in the spiritual correction by the light, it is fast and it's internal. It is fast in the sense that we can advance spiritually faster. And when we talk about time in Kabbalah, we're talking about time in a different level. There's time in the path of pain. This is the time that we have right now, physical reality, the path of pain. There's also time in what we call spiritual realm. And in this realm, what we're going to find is that time is different. And when we start studying the book of Bereshit, the Genesis story, we're going to see that God created all these things in one day. But the one day of Genesis is not the one day of 24 hours that we have on planet Earth. This is a one day that is different. There's a code on that word day, Yom. And so when we talk about time, you gotta make sure that you understand it's a different type of level that we're talking about. But whatever we do here, whatever we advance here, will mean advancing a whole bunch of years or days here in one day. So here we might be doing certain kinds of corrections in ourselves, in which might take probably 5 years in here. But when we unite and we follow the Torah, the instruction, and we do it right by loving each other as ourselves, the 5 years that would have taken us here all of a sudden becomes a week. In 1 week we can achieve that level if we connect with the light. If we're in disconnection with the light and we're in the path of pain, it will take us 5 years to reach that level, because you're waiting for the light of correction to push you and give pressure into you. Remember, we talk about this surrounding light. This surrounding light is the light of Torah, the light of correction, that it will give pressure to the vessel in order to force it to correct. So how do I know what do I need to correct? It's really hard to tell. And there are some people that claim that they can tell other people about their past experiences in other lives and things like that, and that in this life you need to correct this and that. And in reality, nobody knows. Nobody knows in which spiritual level another person is. We may know that for sure one person might be in a higher level than other person, but those are only opinions based on our own position. I'm here, so I see this person higher than me spiritually, but that might not be the case. You know, we might be at the same level, or that person might be lower, or I might be higher than that person. You know, it depends. Nobody knows. But what we need to understand is the following: when we were one soul, when we were the soul of, let me write it down here, Adam Harishon. Adam Harishon is the Adam of the Bible. The Adam that you're gonna find in the book of Genesis is called Adam Harishon. Adam is the name. Harishon means the first Adam, the first Adam here in what is closer to us, this physical reality. When we were in the level of Adam Harishon, we were one soul. Adam received the light from the Creator, and as he received the light of the Creator, that light went into his vessel and left there some marks. And the same thing happened before Adam even was created. The words like Asilu, Bria, Yesira, and Asiyah that we're going to be talking about in the future in more depth, those levels of reality have also, you know, received light in the past. And the only thing is that they're created just like Adam Harishon was, based on something called Reshimot. Reshimot are imprints or memories. What memories is it, or what imprints we're talking about? We're talking about the memories of the light entering in, making the vessel go through a process of calculations, and when the light departs the vessel, there's some kind of, for lack of a better word here, ghostly marks inside the vessel. And according to those memories, it is that we have our personal group also, we'll say, you know, national and even worldwide tikkun or correction. These reshimot, they happen every time in life, every time that you are incarnated, you will go probably through the same lessons. You're probably gonna have the same situation happen to you until you learn the lesson, because there's something that you had to correct in your ego. The only difference is that it happens like in a spiral. And when I say in a spiral, imagine this spiral here going higher and higher and higher. Inside the vessel, these are the words. I think Ampin, Atzilut, Bria, Yesira, and Asiya. And imagine that spiral is here in the bottom, and that it goes higher and higher and higher. So we're having the same kind of I would say experience. It's not like I didn't learn how to drive my car really well, so I'm gonna have an experience again in which I'm gonna have to learn how to drive my car properly and all that. We're not talking about anything physical. We're talking about spiritual things in here. So spiritually, if you need to correct certain things, it will happen. You will go through situations. You will be probably be born to a family, a nation, something like that, in which you're gonna face certain kinds of situations in which you will be able to correct these things. So that explains a little bit why good things happen to bad people and why bad things happen to good people. Okay. Let me see. So the light comes in. When the light goes in, if we have not created a barrier, a kind of screen, what's going to happen is the following. The light's going to go in and it's going to break all this, which is what's happened before, Adam Harishon was even born. And that's why the word of Atzilut was created. But a Machzon, which is a barrier that was created by the vessel in order to not let all the light go in, and by doing that, as the light was going in, it created sensations, these feelings as the light goes in and leaving all that, and eventually it realizes that it needs to give back to the Creator, and it creates a system right here. And the system has a name that I'm not gonna say that name now in order not to confuse people, so we don't get ahead of our lesson. That system here is gonna create vessels. Those vessels are gonna be vessels of bestowal. And it's gonna be a whole different level of world in which the vessel is gonna be able to give back to the Creator and become more altruistic. So what happened is the following. To go to this level in which there was a Machzon, how that happened? We need to ask ourselves, how that happened. The light goes in, and here it creates certain levels, right? And those certain levels that are created inside the vessel are gonna create a system that is going to explain to us where we are right now. And like I said before, Kabbalah is like a pattern. It's like a fractal. Whatever you see above continues repeating itself all the way to the bottom. And the reality that we are right now is the reality in which we need to now go back up. Create that fractal, but backwards, going back up. So what happened was the following. The system or the development of what we call the desire in a vessel was the following. First of all, we need to understand something. The Atzmuto. Atzmuto means the essence. We don't know anything about it. It's called the secrets of the Torah for a reason, because we cannot talk about it because we don't know anything about it. What we know is that there's certain kind of information that we have right now down here that we can claim that we know a little bit of what happened after the Tzimtzum. So we don't know about this. It's infinite. We cannot even call it a smuto. At the essence, it's nonsense. But we have to use the nonsense here in Kabbalah in order to say there's something out there we don't know. But we know about this. It is called shorish. It's the root. It's the root of everything, and it's pure light. It's pure light. As you can see here, there's no vessel. It's pure light. That shorish, which is root in English, take note because it's keter. It's called keter, the crown. And this stage is desire, pure desire to give, and belongs to a point, a little point. That point eventually is going to become a name called Yod He Vav Hey, right? So shorish, the root of everything. Okay. Now, this is the creator, pure light. The creator wants to give, is pure giving. To whom he's going to give. Therefore, the creator creates then the vessel. Now he can give the light to something. The only difference is that this vessel is desired to receive. This is what is called Behina. Behina means degree or level. Behina, and Behina, Aleph meaning first. Aleph is a Hebrew letter for, the first Hebrew letter. Behina Aleph is or Chokmah. It's Chokmah. Chokmah, take note, it means wisdom in Hebrew. So when we talk about or Chokmah in the future, we're going to be talking about this type of desire. And this is a dependent desire to receive. And when we put dependent for a reason. Right now, this is kind of like a creature that was created by the creator up there. But it has no free will at all. It doesn't have the capability of choosing what to do. So it receives, but it's dependent on the creator. But something happened inside this vessel, and it's like it realizes that, like a little kid, I want to be like my parents. So it decides to give back. Okay? Decides to give back. And this is Behina Beit. And this is the level of Bina. Eventually you're going to know about Chokmah and Bina, the interaction between them, because you're going to find a lot of writings that are going to be talking about Or Chokmah and Or Hasidim. Or Chokmah is the light of Chokmah, and Or Hasidim is the light of Bina. And this interaction is what actually brings light down here. So Bina is a desire to give without receiving. And Behina Aleph, that belongs to the letter Yod in the name Yod He Vav He. Bina belongs to the first He in the name Yod He Vav He. So what happened here is that yes, I want to be like my parents, right? I want to be like my parents. I want to be a giver. So he gives, but he stopped receiving. He realizes that's not gonna work. The only way for me to give back is if I receive. So it utilizes these two desires and creates a different desire called Behina Gimel, and we know it as Serampin. And Serampin is a conglomeration of 6 Sefirot: Chesed, Geburah, Tifaret, Hod, Nesach, and Yesod. And just to give you a little preview, that's, or Serampin, is actually what is talked about in the book of Bereshit. The 6 days of creation is Serampin. The 7th day of creation is that guy right there, Malchut, which we're going to talk about later after we explain Serampin. So Serampin is a desire to receive in order to give. So in this case, it's a system already that is receiving and giving. I receive 80, I give back 20. I receive 30, I give back 70. I receive 50, I give back 50. I receive 20, I give back the 80 to the Creator. And that's the letter Vav. Okay? But what happened? This right here is an issue, in the sense, that when that happened, the vessel realizes that okay, if I receive 40 and I have to give back 60, and start feeling that it's a lot of pressure. The pleasure is great. It perceives, the light of Chokmah, the light from Bina, and it wants it all. It becomes egoistic. In here, something happened. A desire to receive completely. A pure desire to receive. Remember here, this desire was dependent desire to receive. It was dependent on the Creator. Here, I want it, and I want it all, and I want it for my own sake, and it's independent. That's Malchut, Behina Dalet, the last Hay. The problem here is the following. In that desire created basically a division or a separation in which it is just independent. It doesn't want, to anymore be like the Creator. It wants it all. It wants everything that the Creator wants to give for its own sake. And it's not at the level of Binah, in which Binah is pure desire to give back. And it's not even in the desires of Serampin, which is a desire, I receive a little bit, I give back a lot, or I receive a lot and I give back a little bit. Here it's all, give me it all, give me everything, give it all to me. I want it all. But something happened here. This vessel realizes that is opposite to the Creator. So all of a sudden, the creature, because now it's a creature that was created, finds itself very opposite to the Creator. Okay? So it finds itself in a position in which it's opposite to the Creator. The Creator is all a giving force. It wants to give. The creature should be working into receiving, and giving. And at this moment, the creature just wants everything. But something happened. The creature all of a sudden realizes that it's opposite, right? It's opposite to the creator. And that creates something called the bread of shame. They use the word bread because it's like a host giving food to a person that was invited, and this person is eating and they don't care how much the host pay for this food or anything like that. Just give it all to me. I don't even gonna say thank you, because even thank you is a form of giving back. No, the person that was invited, the guest, wants it all, and that's why it's called the bread of shame. That creates something. It creates something called Tzimtzum Aleph, a first restriction. That first restriction is going to create something called a masach that we already talked about. Right? A masach is a screen on top of the vessel. The vessel wants everything, but then the vessel says, I'm opposite. I'm gonna create here on top a screen in which when I receive the light, I'm gonna be able to give back to the creator and go to that level of seramping. And when that happened in a way that is described by the Kabbalists as the Kav, and in the middle, right here in the middle, there was a vacuum created. The light goes in and the Tzimtzum happened right there in the middle. Hold your thoughts on that, because lesson 5 we're going to talk about the Tzimtzum, what the Tzimtzum is all about. And just remember, going back, the path of pain, the path of Torah. The path of pain is slow. Path of Torah, the Torah of light, of instruction, is fast. It takes lives, incarnations, to reach that. But how do we know? Why do we ask these questions? About the meaning of life. How do we know? Where we are spiritually, which level, or anything like that? We don't know. We just know that we have questions, and those are reshimot, those little imprints that are inside our soul that are somehow letting us know that we need to find something, that we need to do something about our spiritual life, and that comes, from Adam Harishon and his sensation of the light going to him. Now we are talking about the vessel and how the vessel developed in a way that it became egoistic and opposite to the creator, and how the vessel decided that I'm opposite to the creator, and now I need to do something about it and create a masach. A masach, if you remember in our previous lesson, masach, a screen, is the intention. The intention. We change our intentions in life, and we are going to be able to reprogram or change the way we receive. And that's what the vessel is doing here. It creates the masach by doing a restriction. Tzimtzum means restriction. Aleph first. So this is the first restriction. So the first restriction is telling you already that there's going to be another one. All right. But this thing that you see here is actually happening in ourselves as well. And we're going to touch base on that. And we're going to use these same graphs in order to explain the calf, the restriction, and what happened after that, and how that system of the masach and the light, direct light, and the reflected light, and the internal light, and the light of Torah, which is the surrounding life, work on the vessel. Because after all, you see Or Yashar, Or Hoser, Or Pinimi, Or Makif, all these lights that I was talking about, we call it lights, but it's one light. The light never change, only the vessel's sensations to the light changes, and we're going to explain that as well in our next lesson. So keep that in mind, and with that, I hope that you keep coming back to this lesson. Like I mentioned before, it looks like sometimes we're spending a lot of time talking about certain subjects, but there's a reason why, and you're gonna find that once we go at the end of this lesson, and once we start in the intermediate level, you're gonna say, I understand what's happening here, I understand, you know, this concept better, and I understand how to apply that in my life as well, because we're not gonna touch these concepts in a academic way. We're also going to talk about how to apply them in our lives. All right. So at this moment, I'm going to leave you with a homework, because we need to apply in our life, right? Like we mentioned. And is look at your life and see the way that you're living your life, the way that you're living your life right now. Is it for the creator, or is it against the creator? And look at it, because there's a lot of things, like I mentioned in the previous homework, there's a lot of things that we do that are good, but in reality they're very egoistic, because it's all about what we want back to us. You know, the way we think about ourselves and everything is egoism. So the homework is going to be the following. Look at your life and think, are you living your life just like this vessel? Let me put a board. Just like this vessel here, opposite to the creator, that I want it all, I want everything that the creator can give me, but in reality I don't want to give back to the creator. And study your life in that sense, and you're gonna find that most of the things that you do are really not for the name of the creator. You just want it all. I have a lot of Christian friends, and not to criticize any religions or anything like that, but it's a good example. They want salvation, therefore they go to church, they do these things because they don't want to go to hell. They want something. That's egoistic in a sense, because you're not doing it because you really love the creator. You're doing it because you're afraid that you're gonna go to hell, you know. So that's egoistic. That's kind of like being in the position of Malchut right here. I want it all because I'm afraid I'm gonna lose it all. Not really. How can you reach this level in which you want it but you can give back? So that's the homework that you're gonna have. Okay, so thank you very much for being in this lesson. I will be in the 5th lesson talking about the vessel and its parts and how this interaction with the lights actually work, and we'll be getting a little bit more advanced in the 5th lesson. By the 6th lesson we'll be talking more advanced, so take notes here and there, because it's gonna be a little bit more I don't want to say hard, but it's gonna be more complicated to put all these concepts together if you're not taking notes, and also if you're not doing your homeworks. Okay, so thank you very much, and I see you in the next lesson.